So I've been finding it really important to get something off of my chest, at least that it just feels important to share. So maybe hopefully one of you may relate, or you may be experiencing something very similar at this time, or maybe it's an awareness you might be picking up on. But for me personally, through the last few months especially, I've been really hyper aware of how much technology, social media, networking platforms I consume on a daily basis. And the reason I'm attentive to that perspective is I can a lot of times run into a mental, physical, spiritual, emotional block, all of them together, if I am using those platforms, i.e., Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, even like LinkedIn or TikTok or just like random things. And if it's on my phone or if I'm on the computer or whatever it is, if I'm on there, my energy and mental focus is somewhere that's not in a wholeness, wellness, complete awareness, right? So when you're in those states, or when I'm in those states, I tend to forget about what's really important to me. So I don't know if many of you can relate to this or not, but I find things of metaphysical, esotericism, occultism, mysticism, philosophy, woo-woo, spiritual, all those things, like etheric, cosmic, the unseen, hidden realms and stuff like that, to be very, very, very intriguing. And it is in my blood. It's what I live and breathe. It's who I am. It's what interests me. It intrigues me down to my core. I could talk about these things hours on end. And when I am just barely, maybe a few scrolls or a click here and a click there, I can immediately be taken away from what's important to me, even though it piques inspiration at times and it's useful to me whenever I'm maybe in a lull and I am looking for guidance in some way, and maybe the universe directs me to those things and I'm finding inspiration from friends or long distant acquaintances that I haven't seen in a while, and seeing like what they've all been up to and those types of things. But at the end of the day, like, what have I gotten accomplished? And how have I used that inspiration? Or have I just held it in and allowed it to surpass or flow right through me without me catching on to something that was meant for me? So the past couple of months, I've been really hyper aware of this repeating pattern of mine. And here recently, I've only necessarily been able to put words to it because I've been that much more aware of it, to be able to really feel, okay, I know that I'm not very much present online and not available online to my friends and people that I would like to stay in contact with more, or at least like even through text and phone calls and those types of things. Just even having my phone open on something in general lately has been a challenge for me. And I don't necessarily I'm not on my phone. Like, I definitely have my phone around me pretty often, but for the most part, I don't like getting on it. I don't like being around it a lot of times too. Like, energetically, I can feel it's the subtlest energy, especially too, and it's just my perception of what I know is on my phone, and me even feeling that consciously, what's on there, having it around me, like processes, it uses a different process, different thought process within me recently, or it has been at least the last few months, maybe up to a year or so, that I've been like that much more aware of it. So the fact that I am sharing this really is just to kind of reiterate and bring into maybe a conversation for those who might be experiencing something similar, who run into confusion or a lack of inspiration, or just a lack of motivation, or finding any creative spark, or finding yourself not doing anything at all, or maybe you just feel lesser than, because what really starts to happen, and I'm sure a lot of us know this, but what really starts to happen is when we're seeing all of these things online, it gives us this false narrative of people are constantly doing something, or they're constantly pumping out energy. And it's just simply not even feasible. It's simply not something that is even possible. It's not possible. It doesn't happen. I just want to point out, in regards to those who do see those accounts, maybe they have a massive following and they're on every day, like a lot of times you don't see what happens in the background. And like the biggest things for me obviously always are boundaries and self-care and self-love, and how am I nurturing myself at the end of the day, or always, and that lesson that I keep coming back to. So for me, it does take a toll if I don't take into account of realizing, like, there are people like me that do suffer, that feel like they have to pump out information because they have to stay relevant, or whatever the cause. Or there's another reason, because they have people on their team that are able to help them post and able to help them make things. So it's not always just a one person account. Like, take that into consideration when you're looking at people who are constantly posting or updating, or building onto their entrepreneurship or their brands, or whatever it is that they're putting out into the world, that we see through social media and platforms like those, that we really don't have the full scope and the full spectrum of those things. So it's important to come back into the center, at least, like, I have to do it now more often than anything, and that's why I haven't been on social media as much, or I haven't been as much available on my text, or however I'm responding to people or showing up online in these ways. It's because I have been really needing to check in with myself. But in the same light, like, I've been able to be consistent a lot more with things that bring me joy, with things that I fill my time with, that really excite me, that get me going, and that I want to bring into the world, regardless of if it's something that I actually share with people, or if it's something that I keep privately to myself. So in all of this, within saying that, it's who are you checking in with? Who are you honoring through your experiences? And if it always seems to be, well, I want to show people something, or I want to offer people something, or I want to help somebody else, or I want to put my energy to show others this thing, or prove something, or get people to see that I've been doing this thing, or whatever, like, really ask yourself the importance of that, and why it's important, and if it's important to you. Because for me and my personal experiences, I used to lean so far into needing to help people and wanting to be of service and doing these things, even though I know that's my core truth. And as a human being in general, I feel like most people respond that way, at least in the generations that we are presently in, that have that same core truth and want to share whatever that is with others. But what we tend to get so caught up in is losing ourselves and our own sovereignty within that. And being in a solid, standing, check-in, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical well-beingness all together, like, it allows you the space to really ask the deeper questions. It allows you the space to open up to a bigger enlightened perspective, if you will. So I guess, again, overall, just checking in with yourself is so important, especially right now, because so many things have been changing. I know a lot of people recently have been stepping into roles that have always been meant for them. And it's just such a expansive, enlightening time right now that it would really be of benefit to stop and reflect and ask yourself the deeper questions, and ask yourself what really is important to you at this time, and ask yourself if you're doing something for the joy of it, or if you're doing something just to pump out content, or if you're doing something just to prove something to somebody, or to show your relevancy, or if your boundaries are something you need to work on, or just whatever is happening for you right now. Know that it's such an expansive time, and everybody is changing and shifting directions and working into a perspective of really honoring themselves. And it's such a beautiful experience right now to see, and even with myself involved. So these are the messages I just wanted to share, and hope that you guys are doing well. Sending all my love.